blush tone bridal look. This is my beautiful model, Abby. We're gonna do skin and eyes. I used to struggle when it came to using pink tones in a more natural way. So today I'm just gonna kind of share with you how I navigated around that. So we're gonna get started. First things first, I'm gonna clean the skin with my cellar water. You don't know what's on the skin, no matter what they tell you. And I prefer to prep with my own products. So we're just gonna get her nice and clean. Abby tends to lean a little bit more on the drier side. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the MAC Prep and Prime essential oil. I'll use this on anybody who's normal to dry or even combo. I'll just make sure I only use it in the areas that they're drier on. And then I'm gonna press it into her skin. I thought about this a lot before making this video, and I wanted to emphasize with the makeup I'm doing today, it's a lot of how you use the makeup and how you apply it, not exactly what I'm using. So when you're using a facial oil, you always want to use your hands when you're applying moisturizer. I know a lot of girls use brushes, but it really presses and pushes it into the skin. So I'm going to follow up with a little moisturizer. I'm using the Kiehl's Ultra Facial Cream. And press it into the skin. Oh, sorry. Stab you with my nail. I also always use under eye cream, no matter how young and perfect they are, because it makes my concealer lay better. But I'm going to use a good little bit. And I'm gonna make sure I get all the way up here to the outer corner of the eye as well. And then I'm gonna use a little MAC lip conditioner on her lips. I really like to get everything good and hydrated before I get started. So Abby's eyebrows are microbladed. Usually I'll do brows first unless they are microbladed or pretty full. So hers are, and I'm gonna go ahead and skip brows for right now. We'll come back to them later. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of my Shape Tape. If you use something too light, area right here in pictures will look a little crazy. So I'm gonna go with light medium instead of a light. And I'm gonna take this little flat brush from Morphe. It's an M421. And I'm gonna start right here underneath the brow bone and just start working some of this off. And then I'm gonna come up to the brow like I'm carving it out with whatever is left on my brush. And I'm gonna expand this out just a little bit because we're gonna do a very blown out outer corner focused eyeshadow look. So I wanna make sure I bring the concealer out here too. And then I'm gonna take my damp beauty blender and I'm just gonna pick up any excess. And I'm gonna do the same thing opposite. I'm gonna use just a tiny bit of this Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of this and just tap it onto the lid to make everything sticky. And then I'm gonna set that eyeshadow and eyeshadow primer with powder. I'm using the Huda Pound Cake. She is my go-to powder. I'm just gonna press this on top of that. Excuse the tape, I flew with this and I was nervous it was gonna bust open or something, so I taped it. And I haven't yet peeled the tape off. But this is my Tarte's In Bloom palette. I love this eyeshadow palette. Would recommend. Today we're gonna start with the Smarty Pants, which is this cool toned brownie taupey color right here. And I'm gonna start in the outside of her eye, but I'm not gonna put any in this outer area, even though we're blowing this out this way. I'm gonna place this brush just at the end of, like right where her lash ends. And I'm going to just press that on the lid. And then I'm also gonna carry it up and over, down low on the lid. Everything in this area of the eye, I'm gonna keep really bright. So I'm gonna keep this pretty low. And then I'm going to buff that out into this outer corner. Next, I'm just gonna slide right down to this Sweetheart color, the same shade, but it is a pinky tone. And I'm just gonna layer that right on top of what we just did. I use a lot of fluffy brushes. It just kind of goes hand in hand with the type of makeup I do because I like a really, really blended look. So I'm using a fluffy brush, but it's just a slightly more, like a little thinner. I have no idea what it is though, because it rubbed off, but it's a little bit flatter and thinner than the other fluffy brush I used. And I'm gonna dip into this other color right here. It's called Rebel, which is like a mauve-y color. And I'm just gonna pat this in to only get it on one side, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna press that in the same place we started last time and really build it up. Okay, so as I'm patting some of this off my brush, I'm going to turn it sideways as I start to kind of give this outer edge a little bit more definition. And then just take it down just a little bit towards the inside, but not too much. Okay, so next I'm gonna take whatever blush you're gonna use. I'm gonna use the NARS Deep Throat. It is a pinky blush because we are going for a blush tone look. And I'm gonna use this as my blending and transition color, and it's going to go ahead and take this like warmer look and turn it a little more pink without being obnoxiously pink. I like using a lot of the same tones around the face. I just think it looks very beautiful and cohesive when you use the same tones all over the face. And I'm gonna start a little higher, and I'm just gonna buff this pink blush all on the outer edges of what I just did. And then I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna start emphasizing this little outer lift a little more. So now, depending on how dramatic your personal client wants to be, we can stop with the outer definition. But if your client wants just a little bit more drama, I say drama very loosely, but a little more definition, and we're gonna dip into Leader, which is this pretty brown right here. And I have a very small fluffy brush. I love these. This is the Morphe M506. And I'm gonna dip the tip of that into that, tap it off. And then that same starting point, right where the lashes end. And I'm gonna press that there. A little more. And I'm gonna just keep doing circles in kind of a diagonal direction. So when I'm buffing this on, I'm still thinking of the idea that the whole goal is to create this lift in the outer corner. So I'm just gonna keep working this in right here. You could add more at this point, or you can stop. Okay, next we're gonna do one of my favorite tricks, and we're gonna go in with a cream eyeshadow. There is so many choices. Like I said, it's not necessarily the products I use, it's the way they're applied that makes the difference. So a lot of the times when I'm doing a pink tone look, I'll go for the Stila Kitten as my liquid. But today I'm gonna go with the Charlotte Tilbury Champagne, which is like this potted one. I'm gonna ask my client to close her eyes and not open them for a minute because this is a cream product, so if she looks up before it dries, it is gonna cause creasing. We're basically gonna take this cream eyeshadow and cut her crease without doing an actual cut crease. I personally like doing this with shimmer because I think when I layer another shimmer on top of it, it makes it extra eye-catching and bright compared to just laying the concealer down. For this look, we're kind of doing like diagonal sections across her eye. That's the best way I can explain this, is we're kind of moving in a diagonal. So I'm gonna start, and this is that same type of Morphe brush I used earlier. And I'm gonna start right in this area and press it. I'm not gonna take it to this, like the right inner corner. We're gonna use something else for that. So I'm just gonna kind of start right here and follow her natural crease. So when you get to this area of the eyeshadow definition, you really want to make sure you turn your hand to take this at an angle. And we're going to take this top part just a little bit wider than we're going to take this bottom part. So we're going to curve it up into that definition a little bit, and then we're going to angle it back in. Like so. And then before the product dries, I'm going to go ahead and take this little teeny tiny fluffy brush. This is a MAC brush. I can't read what number it is, but it's just a really tiny, light, fluffy brush. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to softly buff the outer edges of that eyeshadow we just applied. And then for this outer part, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to make sure I'm moving my brush back this way and not this way. That way we don't disturb this darker definition we made out here. So we're just going to softly buff this back like that. So pretty. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. Okay, so next I'm going to take my very used and abused Jaclyn Hill palette. Now, I only really use one color from this eyeshadow palette anymore, and it is my absolute fave pink to use on these looks. And it is this color right here, Faint. On a flat brush on one side, and I'm just going to pat this right on top of this inside and middle. I'm not going to extend it over into this area. We're going to use something else for that. Okay, LOL, I lied. I'm going to use another color from this palette, Sissy. And it's just like a darker pinky shimmer. So this is one of my favorite things to do when I'm blending shimmer into darker definition, is to take a darker shimmer. So if you were doing like a bronzy look, you could always do like a brown shimmer. But today I'm just going to do a darker pink shimmer since we're doing a pinky look. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it that way into the lighter area. I'm going to start right here where the darker definition starts and push the opposite way to blend that into the light. And next we're going to do what I like to call the like walk back. So we're going to basically reverse everything we originally did. So I'm going to take this fluffy brush in the Rebel and I'm going to go back with that definition one more time. I'm literally just going to tap it. I'm just basically pulling those colors back forward after I applied the shimmer. And then I'm going to literally every single color I used before, I'm going to go back and apply again. The Rebel on this flatter fluffy brush and pop it in this area. And I'm going to take the NARS Deep Throat again and hit that crease again. Make sure everything's good and blended. Today I'm going to do a brown eyeliner look, but I'm actually going to use brown and black for this look to help hide the lashes. If you're not using fake eyelashes, you can totally just stop after the brown. So first things first, I'm going to take Stila Stay All Day Smudge Stick. I really like the consistency of this product. So we're going to do like a smoked out cat eye kind of, just very subtle, soft wing in this outer corner. Depending on how dark you made this definition, you might need to use a darker pencil. This is in the shade Espresso, and I'm gonna start in the same spot we've been starting, in this outer corner. Now here's a very important note to note when you're doing eyeshadow for a look like this. We don't want this half of the eye too dark, so I am going to avoid eyeliner in that area. So I'm going to just focus this in this outer area, like the outer half of the eye. And I'm going to do a little wing but I'm not gonna make it to the perfect point yet because we're gonna clean it up and make it pretty. So I'm gonna leave it nice and messy right now. Abby, open your eyes for me. So when you're doing a cat eye, the most flattering shape to go for will be determined by their lower lash line. Yeah, if they have a really defined hood, you want to shift that angle to accommodate what it looks like when she opens her eye. So I'm just gonna kind of follow right where her lashes start on the bottom and just very loosely map out my wing. And go ahead and close your eye. And that's it. We're gonna leave it like that for now. I'm gonna take this smudger brush and I'm gonna start buffing the outer edge and this inner right here. There's no product on this brush yet. Just kind of softly smudge it. Now, anytime you apply a cream product, which that smudge eyeliner is very creamy, you need to apply a powder on top of it to set it or it will shift. Since you can use any dark brown. Just since I've already used so many things in the Jaclyn Hill palette, I'll go ahead and use it. I honestly don't use this palette that much, except for the pink tones, but you know, since we're here, we'll use Central Park, which is just a really dark, cool brown. And I'm gonna start in that same spot and press that on top of this part right here. So this lash line is nice and defined. And then start buffing it. And I'm buffing it inwards. That way this outer edge, we're really building up this outer edge. And I'm not gonna try to flick it because we're gonna come back and make this look nice in a minute. And so when you have most of your stuff off your brush, you can dip down just a little bit into that other half, focus more on the lashes, just so that blend looks a little bit more nice and natural. Okay, look at the cube. See? Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. Next, I'm taking a really dense angled brush. This is the Sephora Eyeliner 22 and a little MAC Fix Plus, and I'm gonna spray this. I like using the Fix Plus because it has a little bit of, it's not quite, it has a little more slick than water. I don't think slick's the right word, but that is the word I have right now. And I'm gonna take that same dark brown eyeshadow we were using. I'm gonna put a little bit on it. I'm gonna tap it off. And I'm gonna just very gently make that point. Next, I'm gonna take one of those Morphe tiny fluffy brushes, and I'm gonna try to avoid the exact peak, like top part of the point for now. But I'm just gonna softly buff this right on top. It's just a clean brush, just to blend that out and make it a little softer. And then I'm gonna just gently touch that little tip. If your client wants that more defined cat eye brown liner look, you can stop here. But if they want a more blended look, you can go back with this little dense brush we used for the brown at first and go back into your Tarte darkest color you used and just very gently tap right on top of that liner, and that's going to blend it out and smoke it out just a little bit more. Okay, so lastly for this part, now I do my makeup in a weird order and I know it. It works for my brain. So I kind of pause on the eyes and go back to face and then go back to eyes and then go back to face. So just ride this ride with me. It's just the way I do things because I'll create my definition and do all the definition and then go back and do all the highlighting. It's just the way I like to do it. So first we're creating definition. So I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of liquid liner on her. I know that liquid liner in the makeup artistry industry is frowned upon. I work faster and it's a more precise line and I just like it better. So if you want to use an angled brush and a gel potted liner, that's great. If you feel like you can get the control from that, I don't feel like I can get the control and the clean details that I want with just a brush and a gel liner. So I'm going to use the Stila Stay All Day. This is the micro tip liner. It's a felt tip pen. I'll show you how I clean it in just a minute too. So close your eyes, Abby. Now, since this is a brown liner look, we don't want it to be that obvious that she has this liquid liner on. So I'm not afraid to use my hands. This is something you should have learned about me by now. I lift the lid to see so you can actually see the base of the lashes, and that very tiny right underneath where the lid curves and to the lashes is all I'm trying to get. So I'm gonna try to show on the camera the best I can without getting my arms in the way, but I'm going to lift, I'm turning my pen sideways, and I'm going to press that in her line as thin as I possibly can. And same thing, I'm starting in the outside of her eye. That way, if for any reason I get it up a little too high into this brown, I can just buff it with a brush and blend it out. It's not a big deal. I have all that definition there. So once I get it at the root over here, I'll very gently. Okay, so I got both of her lines on, and now I'm going to blend them because, like I said, that is kind of my whole jam, is blending. So I'm gonna I just put a tiny bit of black eyeshadow on this. I'm gonna turn my hand upside down, and I'm going to just press and push this outer corner like this, but then on this inside, I'll lay it down so we don't get too high, and just basically lay this on the lashes. Open your eye, Abby. And that just gives us a nice little blend between that black and that brown. I'm just gonna take my makeup wipe and I'm gonna very gently press it on here. Very gently, because you don't wanna mess with the felt. And then I have just this tiny thing of spray alcohol. And she's clean. Next, I'm gonna clean up the outside of her eyes so I can start working on skin. I'm just taking a makeup wipe and I'm wrapping it around my finger. Look up for me, Abby. And I'm gonna very gently wipe. I like using a makeup wipe for this best. You can use a Q-tip, you can use the defined Q-tip, but my issue with using makeup remover is sometimes I feel like it messes with, I can't get as precise around my eyeliner with the oily type consistency, even the micellar water. And I'm just gonna, in that lifted shape, drag that up. Now, we don't have very much product on her. We have on her skin is just moisturizer. So you can go ahead, and I like to take the warmth of my finger and just softly buff this outer corner for that nice blend. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray some Fix Plus on her. If you did dramatic eyes, you wanna make sure you cover them, but this is all blendy and fine, so it's fine. And then I like to match my foundation to shoulder. I'm using the Smashbox 24 Hour Skin Studio Skin Hydro Foundation, whatever it's called. I've gotten so many makeup artists on this, so you should really try it. It is a beautiful foundation on dry, oily, and normal skin. So I'm just mixing two neutrals together. And I'm using my IT Cosmetics Buffing Foundation Brush. And I usually use, if I had to guess, about 3 pumps on the whole face. I like to work in layers. Abby has great skin, so I'm not gonna do a crazy amount of foundation on her because I still do contouring and concealer too. So I don't want it to feel heavy on her skin. I want her skin to look flawless and perfect, but I don't want it to feel heavy. So I always start in this bottom portion of the chin. I feel like this is the most important area for coverage. If somebody has like hormone issues, their acne is gonna be focused here, and that's usually the problem area for most people. So I always like to put the most coverage I'm gonna put on the face is going to be in this lower area. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm going to completely avoid this under eye area because we are going to do concealer, and I'm going to only put a teeny tiny bit on her nose with whatever's left over when I'm done blending out the rest of it. And then there's not much on this brush. I'm just going to kind of softly buff it on the nose. I always bring foundation down the neck because your neck tends to be lighter than your body, and because your head creates a shadow there. So you kind of want to make sure you blend it down the neck so everything's cohesive. Oh, that's the word. And then I have a tiny bit of foundation left on the back of my hand. I'm just gonna take my beauty blender and bounce it in here. This is the Aesthetica Beauty Blender. And I'm just gonna blend all that in. Now, if you feel like your foundation got a little dry, it's just keep working with it. You're creating heat the more you push and press into the skin. And so if you just keep pouncing on it for a minute, it will warm that product back up and help make it blendable again. And if you absolutely need to, you can spray it with a little Fix Plus or setting spray to blend it in too. Okay, once we get all that blended, I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my contouring. I like to go from like definition to highlight, like I was talking about. So I'm gonna use my Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, and we're gonna use medium dark. They do make a fair medium, which I love for my lighter skin girls, but Abby's pretty like average because she has like a little tan right now. Sometimes that fair medium one is a little too light. A little bit of that on the back of my hand, per usual. And I'm taking this Real Techniques brush. It's a 402. It says it's a setting brush. That is not what I use it for. And I'm just gonna dip that into that Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. So wherever I press first is where I want my most definition. So I'm just gonna press right here. If you get a little messy, it's okay. We're gonna buff it out. It's kind of the theme of this whole look. And before this dries down too much, I'm gonna take my beauty blender with the side I buffed the foundation in with, and I'm just gonna push up on the outer edges of that contour to blend it in. And then since basically pushing the light into the dark, that's the best way I can describe it. Now I'm gonna follow up along the hairline. She is blonde, so I'm gonna make sure that my hand stays here so her hair does not turn brown, orange. That blended in. She does not need her neck contoured at all, but I have to put, for the color to be cohesive throughout the face, I'm just gonna put the slightest amount here, very, very lightly, just so she has some more color to her face. And then I'm gonna hit just this little angle right here on the chin. I'm gonna do the same thing opposite. Now that I have that applied on the areas of the face I talked about previously, I'm gonna take just a little tiny bit and contour her nose. I'm not getting like a perfect defined contour. I'm just gonna lay this same brush right on top at a very slight angle. It's okay if it gets down the bridge of the nose because I haven't put concealer on yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all the definition. Run down this, go ahead and connect it to the eyebrow a little bit. Push down to round it out. And I'm gonna take the smaller part of my beauty blender and just buff this little bit of the edges. Same thing opposite. I'm using Shape Tape in light neutral. I'm gonna apply this on the back of my hand. Oops. And I'm using a little fluffy brush. This is the Real Techniques Defining Crease brush. I don't use my brushes for what they tell me to do. Don't tell me what to do. So I'm gonna start and kind of press this kind of on the side of the nose. I have a really hard time describing which spot I aim for right here. It's like this inner corner side of the nose little area without going too high. This is the little spot I like to get with the concealer. I'm not gonna go too high up underneath her eye because I'm gonna blend it out anyways. So I'm just gonna continue carrying that around the nose because every lady gets right around her nose. Just wrap it around like that. I'm gonna take a little more and very gently apply it to this outer corner we're lifting up. Be very careful not to get it too close to your eyeliner. You want a little space in between to leave room for blending. And I'm just gonna, whatever's left over, just kind of connect it without really connecting it. Then I'm gonna take a little bit more and I'm gonna hit the smile line area. Not that Abby does not have one, but this helps give a little lift to this area. So I'm just gonna put a little bit right here. And then I'm going to blend this with my beauty blender. Now that everything's blended out, look up for me, Abby. I'm just gonna take my finger and press that and pat that concealer up closer to the lash line. Sorry, you have a little something on your face. And then follow it up and around that eyeliner. I'm gonna do the same thing opposite. Okay, so now that I've done both sides of Abby's face, I'm gonna go ahead and do the center of her face. My daughter would call it a heart, but I don't necessarily think it's a heart shape, but maybe it is. I do like a little heart per se, right here at the center of the forehead. And I'm gonna run this slightly down the nose, right above the lip, and on the chin. And I'm gonna blend the forehead first always because it is the first spot to dry, which doesn't make any sense to me at all because it's also usually the first spot people get oily, but it will dry. And so I'm going to just push that into the skin and blend it up and out. I'm gonna use the smaller side of my beauty blender to walk this down her nose. This is gonna really emphasize that contour now that it has the contrast of the highlight coming down it. And blend that down to the tip. Push this down into the lip and blend out the chin. So now is a great time to check for any creasing before you move on. So if somebody, this is very important, very important. If somebody made funny faces or was talking or anything like that while you're applying these cream products, it can cause them to crease. So go back once you have everything on and check and see if anything needs blended out. A lot of the times if they have forehead lines, those forehead lines need to be addressed again. And you just really need to buff them out right before you go and put the setting powder on it. Same for underneath the eyes. I usually like to come in here and kind of pat it out one more time just to make sure there's no under eye creasing, and then the other place will be right here because of talking or smiling. So same thing, the warmth of my finger, I'll just kind of buff it out. Now that all her creams are applied, close your eyes for me, Abby. I'm taking my Morphe setting spray and I'm just gonna spray her whole face. And we're gonna let this dry. Okay, so next I'm taking my, is it Huda or Huda? It's something like that.
I say Huda.
I say Huda too, but I've heard Huda. But the pound cake setting powder, it really is my favorite. I feel like this color is kind of universal for your lighter skinned to medium skinned girls. And also it's very creamy almost. Not quite creamy, but slightly of more creamy powder. So I'm taking my little velvet triangle Amazon poof. I have some powder. Depending on how light they want underneath their eyes determines how much powder I use. So if they like that baked look, I don't necessarily bake, but I'll use more powder underneath their eyes than I normally would. If not, if they just want like a really dewy, light feeling foundation look, I would just use a little less powder. So I'm gonna take more like medium right now, because Abby's face can do makeup. Also, we're in South Louisiana right now, and you need a little more powder than you would anywhere else. So I'm gonna use just a little bit more powder. Look at for me. Make sure nothing creased. And I'm gonna start in that outside of the nose spot that I keep referencing. I'm gonna press that there and follow that up her cheekbone. Take whatever's left on my poof off, and I'm gonna sit here for a minute, and I'm really just gonna press this into this area really, really good. I want to emphasize that I have this motto that love is in the details. So my makeup artistry is not a quick thing at all, but I really like my style of makeup. My clients do too. So I schedule my bridal party makeups for an hour. Moms usually take me about 50 minutes and I schedule the bride for an hour and a half. But there's just so many little detail things that really make a big difference, especially in pictures, that you should take the extra time to do. And also when your client sees themselves, they feel like they can tell you put love into all the little details. I have had several clients tell me before even looking at themselves that they already feel pretty. So if you just take the time to put the love into things, it kind of goes hand in hand. And that was my motivational speech for the day. Then next, I kind of do the exact same thing for any spots on the face that get oily. I'll do the exact same thing as I did underneath the eyes. I'll take a good bit of powder, I'll press it right there and work it out really well. And then also on the forehead too. A lot of girls get oily on the forehead. Abby leans a little bit more dry, so I don't need to do all that to her. So I'm just gonna take the poof with some powder on it and I'm going to just powder her whole face over the contouring and everything. And the reason I put the powder over the contour is because you can still see the contouring, but it's going to make, when I apply my other powder products, it's going to help it blend a little better.